Kia ora friends, and welcome back to my studio. I'm Gina, and in today's video I'm going to be completing a project that I had started about a week ago, and I have started a number of projects this week and haven't completed any of them. So I'm going to take some time today. This is Saturday morning, which is normally when my videos go out, and I'm just going to take some time this morning to finish off the project. So this is the little project that I started. It's based off a Bentley House Mini. So Abra had a prompt recently which was bad dreams, and so I thought it would be quite fitting to get this one out on Halloween, and Halloween in New Zealand is on Monday, so it might be coming out a little bit early for most of you, just with time difference and stuff. But this is where we're up to at the moment. It is looking a little bit bare. I'm loving the colors in it, and I was thinking what sort of things would be in a teenage bedroom. So clothes on the floor, dirty dishes, books, all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to spend some time just finishing this off and just adding in those little details, because it's all about the details in the end. There is a saying on the back wall which I will show you at the end, because it does come up in a black light. It is a little bit hard to read, so I'll also put the words down below into the description. So yeah, so let's get started. Okay, so to begin with, I'm going to start by creating a couple of the key features in the room. The first one is going to be the bed, and I'm going to use some popsicle sticks as well as some newel posts from a staircase and as the bed posts. So I'm going to use a mixture of those as well as some longer popsicle sticks. So these are nice long flat ones, and they're going to make up the base of the bed. So I'm just going to put in some extra supports to help glue those together, and then this is basically how it's going to sort of come together for the bed. And then I'm also just going to add in some additional details around the frame, just to for a couple of reasons. One is to just add some details to the bed, but also I really want some additional layers to be able to catch some of the lighting. And so this is just using my 1, 2, 3 blocks to glue the bed head and bed end together. For the door, I'm just using a scrap piece of MDF, 3mm MDF, with some popsicle sticks, some mat board here for the panels of the door, and then I'm also going to use some cardstock for some additional framing around the panels. Now, I wouldn't normally do this in a door. It's just a little bit overkill, and you probably wouldn't really have this sort of shaker look on the panel. But like the bed head, or like the bed and the bed end, I wanted to add some additional layers so that I could catch the moonlight or the lighting when I paint this up. So I'm just using some black foam board, so just 5mm foam board for the frame, but for the base I'm using the 3mm MDF, and I'm going to cover that with popsicle sticks for the floorboards. I'm actually just going to keep the joins of the floorboards in line. For this particular project, that was the look that I was looking for, and it gives me a nice solid base to the project. So I'm just going to start by painting the door in a really dark purple, and then I'm going to add some additional highlights to it once it's had time to dry. So for the highlights, I'm just using a blue because I really want a look of moonlight catching the different edges of the door. So this is where the mat board and the cardstock, as well as the popsicle sticks, all those additional details that I've added into the door really start to come to life, because it just gives me all those extra edges that I can add the catch of colour for the particular moonlight, which is the feel and the look and the theme that I've got going on in this particular build. For the bed, I'm just using a slightly lighter purple, and I'm just going to go over and give that a really good cover of a base coat. So for this one, once I've got a good base of the purple, I'm going to use that same blue that I used on the door to actually add in those moonlight highlights. I love saying that, moonlight highlights. It's like instead of a sunlight catching the details, it's actually going to be moonlight. So that's why the colour scheme is purple and blue, because it is supposed to be a nighttime theme. You know, just the light from the moon coming in a window, which is, I'm not actually going to build the window, but I'm going to give this illusion that there is a window there. So just adding in some of those additional highlights and then moving on to the wall details. So this is the saying that's on the back of the wall, and it is a verse out of a Metallica song. It is from Enter Sandman, and the words on the back say, "Hush little baby, don't say a word, and never mind that noise you heard. It's just the beasts under your bed, in your closet, in your head." So I'm using that as well as Aira's prompt from Bentley House Minis, which was Bad Dreams. So I'm using that combination of the two to create. So for the lettering, I've just gone with a sort of a twink or a white marker, and then I'm just going over it with a black Sharpie. I really want the words to almost disappear into the wall and then only sort of highlight when a light is shone on them. So I do go over this with a blue biro as well, and then also some blue neon paint. So for the skirting board and the architraves, I'm just using the same purple from the bed. It just is a little bit lighter, and then that gives me the ability to darken any areas that are in shadow. And then it also, I'll use that same blue again, just to catch the edges of the door and a little bit of the skirting board where the light would be coming in. So to continue with the theme of a moonlight, I really wanted to capture this on the floor just with highlights and shadows. So basically most of the floor is going to be in shadow, just with that moonlight coming through the window and casting light onto the floor. So I realised that actually I hadn't made allowances for the shadow of the bed, and so I'm just adding that in as well. And then once I peel this off, you can kind of start to see the look that I'm going for. And then I'm just going to mute down the bare floorboards with just a sort of a very light grey. And then I'll go back in just with that almost that same blue again, just muted down a little bit more, just to give that little bit of highlight of the light coming in. And moving on to some additional details, I wanted to create some hands coming out from behind the door. Now, I am happy for these to be a little bit cartoony, a little bit too kind of out of scale, you know, that sort of thing. I'm really just wanting to get the feel that something is lurking in the shadows. So I've got one hand that's massive and one hand that's not as big, but one hand is sort of fully around the door and the other one's just got the very tips of its fingers around the door. I'm just going to use polymer clay and wire to create a crocodile tail as well, and that's what I'm just creating here. So I'm just creating the scale or the spine of the crocodile just with a snake of clay. I'm not going to create the rest of it because I really just want that poking out from underneath the bed. So once they're baked and all cooled down, I can just give them a bit of a paint. I'm just going to start with a base coat of green on the tail, and then just make sure I put an undercoat of a lighter colour, because generally an underside of a crocodile would be a little bit lighter. And then I'm just going to put a wash over the hands just to kind of muddy them up a little bit. I did create the bedspread off camera, but it is the same process that I've used for a lot of the curtains that I've done. It's just a piece of fabric soaked in a mixture of water and glue, and then I've used the tin foil for it so I can shape it around, and it just adds weight to the fabric which wouldn't normally be there. And then I'm just using the airbrush to try and create the shadows on the bed. For the decorative pieces on the wall, I've just printed off some stickers of pictures that I just found online, and then I had this cross actually in my stash which I'm just going to paint black just to soften the silver of it. And then I can start bringing the whole project together. So there you can see the hands across the door. I do want to add one little extra piece, and that's a little side table. So I'm just going to use a scrap piece of the 3mm MDF, some popsicle sticks, and then I had these little legs in my stash as well. Once the ceiling goes on, I actually do change out that light, by the way. I originally thought that would be quite cool, but changed my mind. And then I'm going to add some additional details to the side table. But because this cup is going to be in shadow, I actually really wanted to make sure that I could have the ability to paint it. So I'm just undercoating it with a grey, and then I will paint it up. And I've got this jacket which was left over from another doll project, and I'm not going to be using it, so I thought this would be great use of putting clothing on the floor. And so this is again that glue water mixture, but I've just added in some black paint. Going to put that aside to dry, and then I've just got this plate, and I'm just going to add some crumbs to the plate as if it's been left over after a midnight feast. And that's basically all I'm going to do with that. I am going to paint this up just a little bit in a blue tone just to add that illusion of light over the top. So once the cup is fully dry, I am going to glue that to the table, and then I'm also going to add in some UV resin. So I want it to look like there's been something in the cup that spilt over and then spilt out onto the table. So with the UV resin, I'm also just going to add in a little bit of brown paint. So it might have been coffee or something like that that might have been in the cup, and then I'm just going to use that and let that drip into the cup while it sits standing up, so it gets all on the bottom. And then as it's lying down, I'm just going to encourage that resin to come out of the cup and onto the table. And then just using my UV light, I'll set that up. It will take a little bit longer than to set up, even just with the UV light, but it certainly does the trick. So once I'm happy with that, I can glue that into the project, and then I'm going to get out my airbrush again and just create those shadows for the table, as well as the crocodile tail as well, because I really want to make sure that we've got some differences between the light and shade in the room. So this is the plate, and I'm just going to give it a light brush with the blue, and then I also go over it with a really light brush of black as well, because I felt that it was just a bit too bright. And then this is the new lampshade that I'm going to add in, and I'm just going to paint that black because I really just want that to glow rather than it be too highlighted. So just using my little airbrush, I'm just going to go over basically all the details on the table and paint them black. I didn't realise actually how black they'd gone, but never mind. And then also the tail as well, just to kind of give that illusion of the light coming through, hitting that bed, and then hitting the hands in the back. And then this is the light fixture, so this is all just basically painted black. And then I'm going to wire in a battery connector so that I can hook that up. So yeah, I just want it to glow ever so slightly. This little bag actually I got from a recent conference that I went to, or a convention, a miniature convention, and that's probably one of the reasons why I've been a bit disjointed this week. This was a little gift in the goodie bag, and I'm just going to put that into shadow as well. And here's the jacket to finish off the project. And there we go, it's all finished. I'm really happy with how this one has turned out. It's a little bit of a different direction than what I've been following so far, especially with the ballroom build, which I'm going to get back to very, very soon. And if you like this video, consider hitting subscribe and come along on this journey with me. And if you've come this far, consider hitting that like button. It really does help the channel. And until next time, I'll see you then. Bye for now.